allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The agenda, are any additions or changes to agenda?
No, sir.
No changes?
Move the agenda. Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes from October 2nd, 2025.
Move the minutes.
Moved and supported. All in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 5 agenda is limited public comment. Anyone? Almost.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
My name is Dan McLean, Northville, Michigan. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I represent several towing and recovery companies who are proud to call Eaton County home. These are long-standing local businesses. They employ county residents, they pay county taxes, and they reinvest their revenue right here back into this local economy. Over the past year, however, many of these companies have noticed a troubling pattern. Despite being fully qualified, properly equipped, and located here within the county, they have been receiving very few, and in some cases, almost no police-initiated calls. Instead, the vast majority of those calls appear to be directed to a single tow company. To better understand this issue, I went ahead and submitted a FOIA request to the Eaton County for towing dispatch records. The county's own data showed that over a 6-month period, 268 police-initiated calls were engaged. Of those 198, nearly 74% of those calls went to a single tow company, while several other county-based companies received only a handful of calls, and some just 1 or 2 during that period. While that company is technically located here in Eaton County, the one that received most of those calls, its distance from many of those incident locations makes this concentration of calls inefficient. There are simply other companies that are located closer to the accident scenes and can respond more quickly, allowing a motorist to move on quickly and allowing an officer to move on to other issues. This raises a broader issue. It's not a question of blame, it's just fairness and efficiency. Our local towers have invested heavily in trained staff. They hire county individuals. They are safety certified. They use certified equipment. Yet they are simply sitting idle, waiting for calls to come in. We fully respect law enforcement's discretion in these calls, absolutely. We understand the importance of a quick and safe removal, absolutely as well. But we're just asking for a more balanced approach as far as ensuring that all towers have an opportunity to respond to these calls. Accordingly, I would ask that this commission, as part of my comment, review the current towing call assignment process for fairness and consistency, and also geographic efficiency, audit those county towing call data for transparency and compliance, and ensure that all county-based towing companies receive an equitable access here. We're not seeking special treatment, only just a fair and equitable response. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Are there any others for public comments? Be one more opportunity toward the end. We'll now have the Sheriff's Office Department report.
Afternoon, Commissioners. Highlights for October of 2025. Begins on October 5th when deputies attempted to make a traffic stop at St. Joan Waverly. Vehicle fled and then crashed onto the train tracks. The driver was arrested and lodged for fleeing and eluding, resisting and obstructing, possession of methamphetamine, operated under the influence of drugs, bond violation, possession of methamphetamine warrant from the Eaton County Sheriff's Office, and one out of Lansing Police Department. Very good individual. October 8th, breaking and entering at 4300 West Saginaw. Deputies investigated and observed a male on video taking copper tubing and other items. This has happened there before. We believe the suspect has been identified and are continuing to investigate this incident. On October 13th, a stolen vehicle recovery from Village Green Apartments. The vehicle was stolen in September and was located on the 13th with someone found inside the vehicle who had overdosed on narcotics and was transported to the hospital. Same date, a probation violation. A female called saying her ex was pounding on her door. Excuse me. She reported a domestic violence assault the previous night with the Lansing Police Department. A probation order out of Eaton County from the previous assault stated only peaceful contact was permitted with the victim. The suspect was arrested, and the Lansing Police Department was notified about this most recent incident, and they came to our jail to interview the suspect. On October 16th, fleeing and eluding stolen firearm. A deputy attempted to stop a vehicle leaving the Red Roof Inn. The vehicle fled on Devonshire Apartments. A witness said that he exited the vehicle and the suspect fled on foot into a building. Deputies could not locate the suspect, but found a stolen firearm in the vehicle. Deputies were able to identify the suspect and will be seeking arrest charges. October 19th, we had an arson on Baywood Street. Deputies responded to an arson of a residence. It is suspected that this family member broke into the house and started a fire. The Detective Bureau is investigating this incident. October 20th, we had an assault at 5400 Mall Drive West. We were called about a man inside the complex that threatened and assaulted a resident with a hammer. The suspect fled prior to our arrival. We are doing some follow-up and will be attempting to identify the suspect who may be suffering from some mental health issues. October 23rd, deputies responded to a fatal crash on Willow at I-96. The driver of the car crashed into a 12-year-old riding a bicycle. Deputies were on the scene very quickly and attempted life-saving measures. However, they were unsuccessful. The crash is under investigation by both our Detective Bureau and an accident investigation team. October 26th, we had a felonious assault. Deputies were dispatched to the Devonshire apartment complex on a call of a female chasing a male through the parking lot with a knife. The male got into a red car and left before deputies arrived. Deputies discovered a tan Buick in the parking lot with its tires slashed. We believe this resulted from a prior domestic incident involving a couple in the complex that we have been called on before, and we are continuing this investigation. October 27th, stolen vehicle recovery. Deputies found a stolen vehicle out of Lansing and stopped it on the road. The driver gave a false name, but deputies identified him through facial recognition software. He was arrested for receiving and concealing stolen property, resisting and obstructing, and multiple arrest warrants. October 28th, deputies investigated a breaking and entering at Sultan's Restaurant at 940 Elmwood Road. A male suspect broke out a window with a hammer and stole from the register within a minute. The suspect was surveilling the business prior to breaking in. October 31st, felonious domestic violence at Specter Road, Devonshire Apartments. The incident began with a prolonged argument between a male suspect and a female victim. The male at one point threatened to kill her with a rifle and took her phone when she attempted to call 911. The victim later attempted to leave with her young child when she thought the suspect was sleeping. However, things re-escalated and we were eventually called. The suspect fled prior to deputies' arrival, where he was located and arrested by another police department and turned over to us. Deputies attempted to stop a white GMC Sierra that was speeding and nearly struck several cars. The vehicle fled from deputies. A sergeant was able to deploy tire deflation devices out, but the driver drove around them and crashed the truck in a ditch at around 45 miles per hour. The driver was arrested and lodged. There were 4 others in the car that all received medical attention and were turned over to their parents. Commissioners, I hope you understand that these are highlights, that some of the major things that have happened up in Delta Township. Obviously, there are multiple other different calls that we respond to, mostly retail frauds. But the Delta Patrol is constantly working 24 hours a day. Any questions for me?
Are there any questions for the sheriff? Go ahead, Commissioner Haskell.
We've had a lot of conversations about like instances where officers from the Delta area might need to go out county. Have you had any major incidences where those services have been needed to?
We have had services, we get called frequently on emergencies over at Lansing Township. We also get calls from other departments requesting either our drone or our canine, Lansing Township, Grand Ledge. We get calls for those, but understand they're only for emergencies,
Sure.
nothing else. If they need backup for something, officer in trouble, we go.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to highlight that though they are based in Delta, there are occasions where they are called to go above and beyond, so.
It's a good point, though. I think I'll put that in the highlights for next month. I'll have the sergeants make a documentation that they assisted a department, so you know.
That'd be great, thank you.
All right.
Any other questions? I have one. Well, you mentioned the facial recognition software. Is that something that they carry on patrol with them so they can
Yes.
use it?
Yes, we have that instrument. It's a tool. It's a great tool. A lot of times our deputies get information, false identification from these people. We identify them through a camera, and
Right. Yeah.
it works great.
Thank you. So that's your report. The next one we have here, letter B, the RAP program update. Was the sheriff, undersheriff going to update us there?
Yeah, we can. I'm not sure if you've had contact with MDOC. Basically, the RAP program is no longer. We've had that for several years now, but it was not included in the state's budget, so the prisoners that we had here for them, that were incarcerated, are no longer here, and we no longer receive revenue from the state of Michigan for that program.
Okay. Looks like I skipped over letter A, the statistical reports.
I don't have any statistics.
Is,
What's regarding what?
That should be Hafner.
Okay, for the courts.
Yes.
And then I think the jail boarding information's in the packet too.
It is, but that's,
Next.
yeah, that's Kane though, right?
welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I was asked to give a brief overview of the court security process up front, which all the commissioners are aware of, and I'm the one that you see on Wednesday nights when you come in for that, for those meetings at night, for the public and everybody else in the audience here. We get about 6,000, maybe 63 or so 100 people that come through the courthouse every month. Averages out to about 300 to 350 people a day, and about 100 and I take back, about 50 to 60 on any given day will be into the admin side. On Fridays, it's a little bit less on the admin side because it's now closed since March. We have 7 part-time, mostly retired deputies that assist us at the front with the screening. And we now have an additional officer that's working with the court security here and helps with transports. For the last 2 years, since I retired and came back, I've been at the front of the court security here. I think generally, I kind of like to say what we do up front there is I try to look at it as we're an ambassador of goodwill. We're the first face of the department. Almost everybody that comes to the courthouse, for most obvious reasons, is not pleased to be at the courthouse. They're either here to contest a ticket or pay taxes, or somebody in their family or they were a victim of a crime. The only people that generally come in here happy are the ones that are coming here to get married. So with that said, we answer a lot of questions, we diffuse a lot of situations up front, try to mitigate some circumstances before they even get into the to the courtrooms. The biggest thing that we confiscate is primarily knives. We are more rural counties, so a lot of people, a lot of contractors coming in for permits. So we, rather than making people take them back, we will keep them up front. Try to be engaging with the people there. If they come back a second time, they generally leave them in their cars, but we don't confiscate or destroy anything unless somebody doesn't pick that back up. We do have a couple retired deputies that are over at the juvenile facility as well. We screen people that go in and out of that facility, but most of our activity is here at the courthouse. Are there any questions that the commissioners have? I don't believe we've spoken about what we do, but generally on the Wednesday nights and such, I generally interact with each of you.
Commissioner Haskell.
Yeah, thank you. I, always wave whenever we walk in. I appreciate all the work that you guys do. I don't know if you saw the last board meeting we were at, but there was some discussion over maybe changing how the entryway flows so that staff here on the non-court side can feel a little bit more safe if they have someone that's combative on the phone and, promising to come in. Is there anything that, from your perspective, that could be done on that, or do we have any
I don't think
recourse
there
there?
is, and I appreciate you bringing that up because I
Yeah.
forgot it. I feel like I addressed that particular situation before it even got to the board meeting. I did talk with the particular individual, the employee that had fielded that phone call. I was working the next day when anybody would have come in. I had briefed the additional screeners on it, had a picture of the individual. And a lot of times, mostly on the admin side, although with the court side, the administration side is again that people are coming in for their county services, but they're not generally pleased.
Sure.
So what we balance is the open government building with people being frustrated of maybe how long a process takes or what they have to do that they don't necessarily want to do. With a given layout of the building, realistically, how the entrance here is probably as good as it gets. We get to see everybody that comes up front. If a couple of the grants do go through, we will be able to have some ballards up front, and we'll be able to have that security screening tint on the front windows, because in the mornings of the spring and the fall, we do have a difficult time seeing out front. 2 weeks ago, our screener went down. We did go to a backup screen, our bag screener went down. But as far as the additional entrances or the additional door, I don't feel we could put any additional door in. We could absolutely put a door in here. However, there's 3 deputies that anybody at the front has to come through. And if they get past all 3 of us, then it's only another door that they're gonna go through. But every office that they go to already has a door, and every office has glass that either is open or closed at the discretion of the office. And if we have another door, is it a locked door? So who's going to let that individual in? Or are we just gonna leave it open? And if we leave it open, what's the purpose of putting another entrance there? If we have a key card, then it's an extra individual that has to open that. We could absolutely put a door there, but then we'd have to make every individual office an employee come down to meet that person, and most of the people that come in, with the exception of Fridays, are not coming in for appointments. They're wandering down. I think we're okay with where we're at, because it's a process of somebody coming in front and being that ambassador of goodwill. One of the initial questions that we just ask is, do you know where you're going, or can we get you where you're going? We have within about that first 5 or so seconds, we have the individual kind of figured out whether, are they a threat, are they not a threat, are they hostile, are they not, are they grumpy, are they happy? And if somebody is upset when they come in and they're going to either the court or the admin side, we will walk them down to that office. So if they're not, and we make the particular rounds through the halls, and the offices are open, and I can look in those. Every office already has panic buttons. Almost all the offices have multiple panic buttons. I do check those every year, and I call them out with dispatch, and we do the checks. So I don't know as it would do us any good to have any additional door because of the extra barriers and all the steps that we're already doing.
Sure. So you mentioned that the staff had contacted you after that
Yes.
conflict, right? Is that part of a policy, or is that just something that she did on her own?
Well, I guess I don't know, I don't think there's a formal policy, but every deputy that's been in this position, myself and all the past ones, they've all had really good interaction with all of the offices.
Sure.
We walk by, we howdy with everybody, and if there's something that somebody feels concerned about, we're that first person that they would chat with their coworkers, but they're going to come down and inquire with us. And just let us know, and we've asked them to do that.
Yeah.
So,
That just seems like a very smart thing to do. So I'm happy that they did that. Maybe it is something that can be, maybe if it's not a policy, a suggestion to the offices, like, hey, if you got one of these calls.
and we do have
give us
the
heads up.
security meetings 4 times a year that we discuss those at with all the department heads as well. One of the things that we did mention, I believe got one next month, is that we would invite the treasurer to those just to let him know what we are already doing on those meetings. And we meet with not public safety, sorry, Chad in the physical plant and the locks, the alarms, security tent, all that stuff, just so that he's aware of everything that we have in that process.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other?
And I can just add too, we also have a rave alert system that 911 makes available. So have that available to all employees, and as often as we can, we encourage them to download that. But that gives the ability to almost have a panic button from your phone, and you alert through the app, and then 911 can dispatch. And that's been some of the discussions we've had at those security meetings about how to be able to provide insights where people are at in the building in case of an emergency situation. So we also have that, and any employee at any time can download that app and have it on their phone. So we recommend that too.
And one of the other things that goes along with that is the phone that's at the front desk where I sit has always been forwarded to a cell phone that either myself or another deputy carries in the building. So that extension, which all the employees have, simply by sitting at their desk, it's almost faster if they type that extension into the phone and it comes straight forwards to my cell phone, and whatever courtroom I'm sitting in or wherever I'm walking, I know exactly where it's going. And then as somebody else is calling dispatch and that rave is being sent out, it's coming down the same phone.
And I will just give an update too. We still have that request at the federal level for funding to do some security enhancements here at the courthouse. Obviously, the federal government shut down. I would note, if they do a continuing resolution to open, that means that congressional discretionary spending is not a part of a CR. But if they do actually adopt a budget, there's hope that we'll get some money to make some security enhancements. And we've worked closely with the Sheriff's Department, Eric, as well as facilities, to kind of highlight what would be the best use of funds if we do get them through that grant program. So that's out there still. And then I would just say we've done an alert notice to all of our employees, but we are going to have some sidewalks taken up. So I think starting next week, there will actually be door number 2 will be the main entrance. That whole area will be getting carved up and the cement replaced too. So didn't know if you wanted to talk on that at all. You guys excited?
Weathered pending.
Yeah.
If it's frozen overnight, I'm sure they won't be pouring concrete if it's raining. But next week, this weekend, probably on Friday afternoon, we're gonna move the security entrance down. We'll move the screener and the metal detector. Work closely with the facilities to figure out how to bring everybody in and hopefully to keep it quiet enough in the lobby because the courts are adjacent to it. But we obviously can't come in and out of this front area when there's concrete and or when it's dry and the heavy pedestrian traffic on it. So probably Monday and Wednesday, we will be running out of that lobby there. All the employees will come in and out of the back door number 30 and work with to get the alarms figured out and to get everybody in and out of that front. So I think we've got a pretty good plan for that. Should be pretty seamless going through there. The only other thing that I would add that I forgot earlier was of the numbers, the 3 to 350 a day. Tuesdays and Thursdays are generally our busiest. Thursdays are definitely twice as busy every other as everything else, not with necessarily people coming in, but what we're doing in the court. The positions up front, we try to backfill and assist the corrections deputies that are bringing people over. It's the circuit court motion day, so generally we could have anywhere from 10 to 15 inmates upstairs, and we're trying to cycle all those public defenders, attorneys to meet with everybody to get everybody in and out of the courtrooms efficiently in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, to item C.
Yeah, so if Aaron Kane, I believe, is here, he's our jail captain, can kind of give the update of the population, and that kind of bleeds into the discussion of the RAP program. So if you're good to come on up.
Afternoon, Commissioners. My name's Aaron Kane. I'm the jail administrator over at the jail for the Sheriff's Office. Just real quick, our numbers right now are 165-ish, give or take. Prior to RAP leaving, we were, 190. We had about 25 RAP inmates, between 25 and 30. That number fluctuates. Just a real quick synopsis on how this came about. We had about a day and a half notice that the RAP program was going away. I received a phone call from Clint Auer. He's head MDOC supervisor downstairs, and he's let me know that, hey, this is possibly, or it's on the ballot. He was not aware of it until that day. He immediately gave me a call, and he said, it doesn't look good. And I said, what does that mean? He says, it looks like the program's, going to be going away. And sure enough, about a day and a half later, the state did vote in their new budget, and we got word that the RAP program was cut from that budget. An email went out on that same day telling the other counties, because we're housing RAP inmates, and they're from all over the state of Michigan, including the Upper Peninsula. So within about 3 weeks, every one of those RAP inmates had been picked up by their corresponding counties. And the instructors that actually ran the RAP program, they're a group called KPEP, they're out of Kalamazoo, and their employees were notified that they can either move to Kalamazoo or they were immediately laid off. So we were all pretty disappointed, obviously, especially with the day and a half notice was a little bit short. I know that Supervisor Auer was also pretty upset by, especially the notice that we couldn't come to the board months ahead of time and say, hey, this is a possibility, something that's on the table at least. We were all as surprised as anybody else.
And for, not that this is a budget committee, but the RAP was about 400,000 in terms of revenue that the sheriff's department took in to help supply for operations. So I believe you guys are working internally of what that can look like. There are some position savings. We still have the jail millage for a little while longer, but even if we're good for this year, long-term, they're coming up with a plan, what that looks like in future fiscal years as well as, and it looks like you're ready? All right.
I just wanted to add something to what the captain was saying, that in that same time frame with that short notice, the deputy director of MDOC called me. And, he said, this has happened like literally overnight. They had expected the RAP program to be continued, and then it was changed by the legislature because it was a separate item outside of MDOC's budget. And so they decided to use that money for something else. But I wanted you to know that the director called me because he said he wanted to personally tell me how pleased they've been with Eaton County, with the Eaton County Sheriff's Office and our jail. That's why we had that program for 8 years, is because of the way our corrections staff operated the program, the cooperation that we provided them. The program was lost for that reason, not because it was discontinued because it was unsuccessful. It was very successful. And he said that they are going to try to get the program going again. They do have a goal of trying to reinstate the program. And if he does, I'm pretty confident that he'll want to do it, that they'll want to do it here again. But you know how that goes. There's certainly wanting something and getting it are two separate things. But I thought it would be important for you to know the compliments that he gave Sheriff Reich and the Sheriff's Office for how we administered that program. And I think it speaks well for our Corrections Division, and hopefully that means when another program comes in, like the IDRP that we have, that maybe we'll be able to get that program.
Thank you. Now we can move on to the Delta Township Fire Alert System interlocal agreement. Somebody, Kelly is going to speak.
Well, we'll do it together. And apologies, this actually should have probably been under central dispatch. So this is a Delta Township had moved forward with the procurement of an alert system that was unique to the needs of the township. The dilemma came where it has to have an integration with county systems. So we've had to approach this from a couple different standpoints. One, we have a very unified model right now where we provide alert system as part of central dispatch's operations to all communities. So we don't really have a customizable option. So that way we're not managing 12 to 13 different alert systems because the complexity with that. But based on the timing and the fact the purchase has already gone through, we've been working closely with Delta Township to come up with a service agreement that helps cover the expenditures on our side from IT standpoint and also central dispatch standpoint. The agreement before you is a draft. I have not gotten feedback from Delta or their legal counsel. Our counsel has looked at it. So what we would ask is this get moved forward, but no, it will be subject to change as we continue having those discussions. Because of the bulk of the purchase being already procured through Delta, we would be requesting a lesser admin fee than we normally do with standard contracts. And then also, you'll notice it's built to cover kind of the upfront year expenses and then the actual cost to operate it with a small admin fee to provide for training, continuing education, and other staffing needs that will develop on account of having to update our CAD system and then monitor that integration. And Kelly, add two, please.
I think you covered most of it. So basically, when we tone a fire department out right now, a call's entered, we tone the agency. They're provided pagers, also you can hear it on the radio, and that alerts. When we did the radio project, any station alerting was not included in that project. So we provide the radios if they're needed for that. But other than that, they were on their own for station alerting. Now, this one is a little bit different than any other agency. It integrates right into our CAD. And some concerns we have is it would be doing something different for just one department. And in this process, we have realized that we need to maybe make a stricter policy just for all of our agencies we serve so that we're not having 12 different, alerting companies integrating with our CAD. Because there are costs that occur for our CAD system, so computer-aided dispatch is CAD. That's where we enter our calls, dispatch, that's where we do the bulk of our work. It can be about $10,000 for an integration fee for that. So these are all things we need to keep in mind. And it makes more work for technology services and dispatch, learning new things and processes. And we like to keep it as standard as possible so that when we get an emergency, we're not sitting there trying to figure out what do we do for this agency that we don't do for every other agency, so.
Yeah, and I think part of that discussion was if the county as a whole adopts a new technology base, then that would be something that the county would be covering the expense. So maybe having a opportunity where that can be a discussion item and brought up that way. But in this instance, the purchase had already happened. So we're just working together to try to navigate in the short run and then shore up the process where we evaluate different options that might be available and the pros and cons of different systems, right? So.
And so on my to-do list is a policy procedure for bringing this to, so we have subcommittee meetings, fire and EMS, law enforcement, and then an overall central dispatch committee, and bringing that to the subcommittees first and kind of all agreeing on what product they would like for that, and then move it to the board just so that you're aware and kind of streamlining it and just making sure everyone's aware and no surprises.
Yep. So the requested action would be to move this forward to Ways and Means. knowing that it may be subject to change as we continue to finalize the agreement with Delta Township.
Okay, do
I'll make that motion.
we have a motion and support to move this forward to Ways and Means? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries. Next, we have the mutual aid agreement of the Major Crimes Task Force. Who's going to speak to that?
Probably sheriff or undersheriff. And I think there's a third one, which is Nashville, which is
Nashville.
essentially like a mutual aid agreement, right? But
That's
it's
not on our
specifically-
agenda.
I think it's in the packet.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's in the packet, correct.
The Nashville one has been sent to Mr. Breggy, the attorney, for review, and we've not received a response back on that one yet. I don't anticipate a lot of issues with that.
Oh, so first it needs moved off the table because it was tabled last month.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Is that it for
Does this include the last?
the task
This
force?
this is all three of them, so this is the mutual aid agreement, it's the task force, and then the Nashville one that Under Sheriff just mentioned, so there should be two other items under that report.
Okay.
There was quite a bit of discussion at a previous meeting when it ended up being tabled because you wanted to see the final copies. I believe Commissioner Haskell wanted to see that. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about it, or did you want me to explain how this came about? We've been operating under a mutual aid agreement since Sheriff Wright came into office in 2013. It was established, and it is essentially the same as this one that's before you. The premise and the purpose are the same. Most of the things in there are the same, but the chiefs, it had been 12 years, and the chiefs, at our chiefs meeting, had decided they thought it should be updated and renewed, and so they put some work into that. Most of the language is the same. There's a couple of areas that are different from 2013. And I could highlight those for you if you want. They involve, under the liability section, for instance, our counsel, Andrew Breggy, wanted a different section put in there. It would be the last paragraph under liability in section 9. And so that was changed and was added in there. You'll see that there's a section also under 10, under compensation. The new thing that was added was this agreement does not exclude any mutually agreed upon compensation for special events. Meaning that if a department has a special event that isn't an emergent need, but they know they're gonna need some extra help, if they wish to approach another agency in this agreement about compensation to get people there on overtime, that's part of the agreement. It's just mentioned in there. There's a section about use of interview rooms and recording equipment. That's in paragraph 12, section 12. That didn't exist in 2013. Not everybody had and there wasn't a requirement. About that time is when MCO's placed a requirement and a statute requirement for certain types of interviews to be audio-visually recorded. That section is just covering mutually using that equipment when we're called as mutual aid, that will also use that equipment. There's a section in there on training in section 9, joint training. All that is basically is encapsulating what Sheriff Reich initiated when he came into office. When we started doing our AVI training throughout the county, it started with the sheriff's office and we expanded it to all the departments within the county. In here, it just mentions a section in there about how the agencies in this agreement may from time to time participate in joint planning and training activities to prepare for emergency situations special police needs. So that could also include other forms of training, but that was new and added. It's not a critical piece as far as liability. And a section on the agreement completeness in 16, just solidifying that the agreement is in this form and it contains all the terms and conditions agreed upon by the governmental units. And then there's a section about withdrawal of any party doesn't invalidate the rest of the parties in this agreement if somebody withdraws from it. And a section I think is a little bit important to have included in there, a good addition. It says no employment or agent relationship. Nothing in this agreement shall be construed to create an employer-agent relationship between the parties. Basically, your employees are your employees, our employees are our employees. But again, other than that, the main focus of the agreement has already been in place since 2013. It's police agencies coming to the aid of each other when we need help.
Commissioner Arndt, you have a question?
How was this sort of thing handled before 2013?
I couldn't tell you. I think it was probably similar. They probably had a mutual aid agreement of some form. I don't have a copy of it. Mutual aid can be accomplished even simply over the radio. You know, an agency asks for requests or backup or needs assistance, whether, as the sheriff said, for a canine or a drone or a bad situation where they need more people there. It can be accomplished. But having an agreement showing that we're indemnifying each other, those types of things, having an agreement like this is something that most regions do.
Commissioner Haskell, I have a question.
Thank you. I understand that this is something that we've been doing for many, many years. I think my question kind of relies on the fact that the way we police now in Eaton County is a little bit different, right? Because we're working off of our road patrols on contracts. So with this agreement, does that conflict?
No, it doesn't. When you look under the section for requesting for assistance, in the response to the request, if you have people that you can send them. If you don't and you choose not to, you don't send them.
Okay.
It's very clear in there that nobody's bound to send assistance. A request is made, and then you'll see in there the response for the request. We may decline the request for aid in our sole discretion. Any agency can do that.
Sure.
And I'd say it helps from a liability standpoint, as the sheriff already has jurisdiction over the entire county. These other agencies don't necessarily have the same indemnification protection. So by doing this, it's almost sharing that authority between each party to back each other up.
It's more important for those agencies to have an agreement like this because when, for instance, if Eaton Rapids were going to go all the way over to Grand Ledge, it's very clear that they have an agreement. They're operating outside of their jurisdiction. Our deputies have jurisdiction as Deputy
Dawson.
Administrator. I was going to give your title there, but as Mr. Dawson said, that's not an issue for sheriff's deputies because we have countywide authority. But the other agencies having that agreement in place, it specifically talks about you're coming to the aid of them and you're acting under their jurisdiction and their authority.
And I'm assuming we've ran this through our legal teams and everything to make sure that our contracts and this nowhere conflict.
So in fact, that's part of the reason it got tabled last month is
Right.
there was still a question of that final review. And we do have mutual aid built into the Delta contract as well. So it's kind of in the same vein of, you know, when expertise is needed or a critical event occurs that the departments and agencies support each other in that venture.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm satisfied. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
I might recommend if you could do major crimes next.
Okay.
And then
The Major
maybe-
Crimes Task Force is kind of a sub-agreement. You have a mutual aid agreement. The chiefs in the county, one of them was new. He was previously in Illinois, Chief Erickson with Grand Ledge Police Department. And he worked for a sheriff's office there prior to becoming chief of Grand Ledge PD. And they had a major crimes task force agreement in their county. So he brought that forward. He said, hey, basically, the sheriff's office is going to be limited with their ability to come in and provide a lot of assistance on a major crime outside of Delta Township. And so they wanted to have this task force, and basically, the purpose of it is provide objective, comprehensive investigation into major criminal incidents within the geographic boundaries of the member agencies. One of the agency responds, and they have a homicide, kidnapping, bank robbery, armed robbery, sexual assaults with an unknown suspect. They might have serial breaking and entering, home invasions that are out of control, an arson or serial arsonist, terrorist threats, mass casualty events, or other major crimes. Something big like that happens and it's beyond their control to investigate it. They want to be able to reach out to the other police agencies in the county and say, can you send me someone to help work on this investigation? Can you maybe not send them physically there, but even just meet together and go over it and brainstorm and investigate a very, very serious crime. It's not an everyday thing. It has to be convened based on a vote, so everything's taken into consideration, the seriousness of the crime and what the needs are and things like that. So they've just asked everyone in this agreement to be able to send a person that would be able to participate to work on a major crime or incident. It's a very sound principle. It's done many places. It's done here in Michigan, all over the state. It's done in other states. The concept is good. And it's just something that they have brought forward, and obviously they'd like us to be a participant in this agreement as one of the agencies.
Any questions for Undersheriff? Are we moving these two as one?
That'd be my recommendation, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh.
Same questions before. This crimes task force, again, has been vetted. It doesn't conflict with any contracted service agreements or anything like that?
No, because this is one as well where we're not compelled to provide it. It's if you have the capacity.
We would be, if the question is about whether we were going to have an issue with Delta's contract, we are not compelled to assign somebody from Delta to participate in this.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Nor from the county either, correct? I mean,
It would be a member of the department.
Right.
Okay.
But, yeah.
We have the capabilities of assigning somebody that will not conflict with our Delta Township contract.
Sure. Well, or any other contract that is based off of the same framework, right? That's
Yeah, correct. So can you give us a scenario where that would, do you want to play that out as a scenario? Maybe that would be helpful for the commissioners.
If there's a homicide investigation and they want us to send someone from the sheriff's office to assist with that homicide investigation, we wouldn't send someone from Delta Township. Unless we had some type of an agreement or some type of a rationale for that. But no, we wouldn't send somebody from Delta Township. We would use a different person.
I don't, honestly, personally, if the expertise were in Delta, I don't care.
Well,
But I just want to make sure that with the agreements we have, we're not going to run ourselves into any walls.
I thought the concern might be, is it going to be in violation of sending someone who is being paid to do the township?
So that's not, the concern is there's a provision in the Delta contract that we don't give a better deal to another community, right? So, and I think that's maybe the point that you're getting at.
And this
We're not
isn't-
providing additional services to a different community that's not paying for it. I think that's probably the underlying concern of your question.
Yeah. I think there's that.
Well, this is just an issue of, I guess, to try to make it simple, is they got a problem, it overwhelms them. They can't handle it, they can't deal with it, and it's and I know the sheriff feels this way too. In law enforcement, it's no different than a fire department. When a house is burning, everybody's going to help. And if you have a serial rapist on the loose, you have a homicide, you have something that is beyond that agency's capability, then law enforcement agencies want to help each other meet that need. It's an agency-to-agency thing, and that's where this comes from.
So this is an entire, I'm actually just a bit confused, although I can infer why. This isn't exactly a comprehensive list of all the municipal police agencies in the county, I don't think.
Well, these are the ones that would be able to have, for instance, I don't believe that Olivet or Bellevue have detectives.
I think Olivet has 2 officers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, just double checking.
The difference is that they're usually looking for people that have some experience, training, or knowledge in investigations.
So it's more about from who we can bring people out of and not from where you're sending assistance to then.
It's,
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. So because Bellevue can't actually send assistance in terms of like a detective or something, this is just about if it's mutual and if you.
don't confuse the mutual aid agreement with the Major Crimes Task Force. The Major Crimes Task Force is for a specific crime that has happened, an emergent need, because they're overwhelmed. It's such a serious crime that they need some trained investigators to be able to put their heads together to work on it. Does that help?
Yeah, I reckon Bellevue could be easily overwhelmed by such a thing, yes.
Right.
And there's not an obligation that the county has to step. So like the state police currently provides coverage in the out county and such. So it's not by default setting the county up as being the go-to investigatory.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think that's probably helpful for,
Yes.
yeah, pulling that in. Yep.
Anybody else have comments or anything?
So I'd recommend these 2 have been fully reviewed by council, feedback from communities. So the mutual aid and the major crimes moving together could go right to the board. Nashville, you could probably move, but if we get feedback from the attorney, it might be revised by the time we take it to the full board. So I'd recommend move these 2 to the board and then we can cover Nashville.
Okay, do we have,
I'll make a motion to send these 2 to the full board.
moved and supported to send these to the full board? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Did you want to talk about Nashville? Sorry,
Oh, I thought that one was included. That hasn't been included.
nope, I'll have them move that separate just because it's still subject to.
The situation with Nashville is they'll receive a call, or there'll be a need in Vermontville. Say MSP is responding to some type of a crime in Vermontville, and Nashville is very close, and so dispatch will ask if a Nashville officer can go and basically hold things down until we could get there in the past, until recently, or until the MSP trooper gets there. We also have a school district, Maple Valley Schools, which is both within Berry County and in Eaton County. And school resource officer, if a school resource officer is going from that school and then coming into Eaton County into this school, he's requesting the sheriff have a special deputy status for their school resource officer to do that. Our legal counsel said, that's fine. We've done that in the past, and certainly the sheriff can deputize whom he wishes to, but he recommended that we have this mutual aid agreement in place as well to bolster the sheriff's deputization of the school resource officer. So that's the main purpose of it being done. There's an additional benefit, I guess, if they do respond at dispatcher's request to something that's happening in Vermontville or something like that. That's an additional benefit of it, but the primary reason for it was with the school resource officer. Right. And it provides indemnification for the sheriff and deputizing that school resource officer, which is why Mr. Breggy said that that they should draft force the agreement and send it to us, and we enter into that agreement.
Question from Commissioner Hass.
And I think I remember you saying at the beginning that this was pending some sort of legal overview.
Mr. Breggy has it.
Okay.
He was working on the other 2. I have not heard back from him yet as to whether he's going to make some language changes on this. If he does, the one that he has, this is a copy of one that Nashville has in effect with Berry County, with the Berry County Sheriff's Office. That's the template from it. We didn't draw it up. The names were changed, and so certainly if Mr. Breggy thinks there needs to be something else added or changed or deleted from that, then those changes will be made.
Okay.
So it'd be like moving it with the understanding that it will
be some
probably be 95 to 99% the same by the time it's at the board, but it may change.
So would there be more information before it actually gets to the board, the date?
Yeah, so we'll have an updated copy from legal counsel's feedback for the full board to adopt later this month.
Okay, so we're moving this, motion to move it forward based on some changes of further information.
Did you?
Is it,
We had a similar issue last month with the other two agreements. That's why we tabled them, because they didn't finish the review of it.
So last month, we were so early in the drafting process, we didn't even have them in the packet.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what compounded the hesitation with moving them at the time. We've now gone through the mutual aid and the major crimes, so from administrative standpoint and also sheriff's office, it's pretty close, and you have the working draft. That's the reason we're asking for a different action than what you guys did last month.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to move it to the full board.
Support.
motion and support to move it on to full board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Next, we have Central Dispatch Report.
Hello, I'll make it quick here, hopefully. So for the past 2 years, I have had dispatchers and supervisors helping at the Mid-Michigan Police Academy at the Lansing Community College West Campus. We do provide the radio end user training, and then we also work with them on night scenarios. So my dispatchers, when they do their night scenarios, they're dispatched to like a domestic, and my dispatchers have a script and interact with them back and forth. So it's been a pretty good partnership. We learn out of it, they learn out of it, and so that has been going well. On October 30th, we celebrated Supervisor Hunt's 25th anniversary to Eaton County. October is Fire Prevention Month. Our public relations team is always very busy during October, and we attended Bellevue Fire Department, Benton Township Fire Department, Delta, Hamlin, Grand Ledge, and Vermontville. So they all had open houses, and the only one we could not make was Olivet. It is always on Halloween, and it is difficult to get staff there because, you know, they want to go trick-or-treating with their little ones. So, but we are out there teaching families about 911 and giving them information on how to opt into our Rave Alert system, and just interacting with the kids and getting them different material to help call when they call 911. Also, if you're extremely bored, feel free to head to Facebook and go to the Within the Trenches. There was a live dispatcher roundtable I was part of, and just to kind of put it in perspective, it was for culture in the Emergency Communication Center, and it was little old Eaton County and a very large county in California director, and then Washington DC. So we had a good discussion about some good practices, how it used to be back in the day, and how we're trying to change that. So that is all I have for my monthly report, if anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Kelly? No questions. Next, we have the record policy proposal.
Yep, so this is still very much in draft form. This took quite a long time to create with lots of guidance from legal counsel. And Central Dispatch is looking at doing the no preference record policy so that we don't have multiple agencies creating their own no preference policy and us having to kind of figure that out. So we were gonna standardize it, create a no preference policy. So this by no means is telling any citizen, if you need a wrecker, this is who you have to use, the no preference. You still have the right, if you get in a car accident and an officer asks you what wrecker service you would like to use, as a citizen, you can choose whatever wrecker service. This more comes into play if they're like, just send me a wrecker, I don't have a preference. Right now, if they, basically, we put it on the police departments to tell us who to send. So I know some police departments have a laminated sheet that has all the wrecker companies on it. They show it to the person and then they pick one. If someone calls and asks for a wrecker, we have it divided in different jurisdictions, and it's all jumbled up by different CADs. And if they say they're in Delta and they need to call a wrecker, we will list off the names of the wrecker in no particular order. So there's obviously a public comment. There was the gentleman that came up here to talk about the wrecker situation. So this is just so that there's an option that if you have a no preference, if you want to be on the no preference wrecker list, you have to meet these standards. So the first step is, I sent this, I had Claudine send it out after last public safety. So if you had any questions, concerns about the actual policy itself. And then the next step is pricing. Where do we want to set that? Do we want to look regionally at somewhere similar and what they charge? Do we want to work with local wrecker companies and kind of gather their prices and come up with an average? How often do we want to look at it? It's something that would have to be set by this board. So I'm looking for some guidance on how we want to move forward with that. And so I guess first off, the policy is itself. I know Chairperson Holmes mentioned to me that number 2, he just wants me to clean up a little bit, and that's fine, just to make sure that it states about a Eaton County tow company and the 5 miles outside. Did anyone have any questions on the policy itself? It's 11 pages of glorious reading.
Any questions for Kelly? Oh, yeah, Commissioner Peak.
One of the things that got mentioned in the public comment was like distance to the accident or whatever. Is there? I didn't see anything in the record policy. I just was skimming through it. Was there anything like in consideration to distance, or is it all just county or?
It would be county-wide. So if we wanted to start doing distance, we would have to do, I would need direction on how you want me to set that up. I can come up with some suggestions. If we wanted to do it in quadrants and you had to be a certain distance away. So that's where it becomes problematic, because I do know that some of our tow companies have multiple locations. So if we wanted to go that route, we would have to kind of sit down and figure out how we want to break it up, because obviously Delta is a lot busier than the out-county. People that service Delta may not want to go all the way down to Bellevue or Olivet. So that is something we can look at. I mean, we could also, I guess, do a wrecker policy work group if that's something you're interested in. I guess I'm just looking for some direction on how to move forward.
So in the case where it's an accident in Bellevue and the next person on the list, you send the request, they can say no next time, and then you would move on to the next wrecker, so.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this policy was written from a standpoint of what's fair and easiest to administer. So similar to the discussion we had when we were talking about the different fire alert systems, we're trying to streamline it just so that in addition to running a full-scale central dispatch operation, we're not also adding on
Yeah,
having to coordinate.
and this
Yeah.
is adding on quite the task, at least to get it up and running. But the problem that way back in the day, we used to have a no preference, and we have to remember kind of human error. So if it's canceled by a police officer because they're on their way and the police no longer need the wrecker, they get put back at the top of the list. But if it's canceled by the wrecker service, like they can't go, they get put at the bottom of the list. And my dispatchers were fielding calls from wrecker services complaining about where they got put back on the list when we're answering 911 calls, and if you don't clear it out a certain way, you get put on the bottom or the top of the list. I guess the nice thing about curbside is that if there's any question about where they're at in the list, they can take all those phone calls and then they'll just verify with me if they're supposed to be at the top or bottom. So that's one perk to using curbside.
Back to the pricing, would be the record companies have their own charge? Or is it something the county needs to set a price schedule, I guess?
So complaints in the past are that wrecker companies, and we get this all the time, so one wrecker company may tow a vehicle and one may charge an amount and someone else may charge 3 times that amount, and the police ask for that car to be towed, then the angry citizen who has a really high bill goes to the police department and complains that you asked for this wrecker and now I'm being charged this amount. So per legal counsel, it's better if we set fees, like if you're going to be on the no preference, it's a no preference. These are the fees, and you have to have reason for anything above and beyond that.
So it wouldn't be based on mileage from the record company location to the accident?
Yeah, if you look at Appendix A, there's a whole list of different things. But I mean, I know one concern from different law enforcement agencies was the pricing and citizens being overcharged or undercharged, that type of thing.
You'd mentioned about the idea of doing a survey of what the rates are as being a possible path. And
Yep, and so I can reach out to all local wrecker companies, kind of, give them an idea of what the draft copy of the no preference towing looks like and request their pricing. I can do that. Different models show like reaching out to similar communities in size and seeing what their record prices are. So I'm just kind of looking for some direction. I can work on it and maybe come up with a draft pricing.
Anybody have any input? Because I don't know anything about wreckers. I don't think I've ever called one,
I don't
actually.
either. I know more about records now than I need to know, but.
I don't know what they charge, 'cause I never called one that had to pay, but Commissioner Haskell.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of knowing what our local wreckers charge, and then maybe if there is like one community to compare to, just so we know if we're in the ballpark, are we average high, average low? I guess I don't know how nitty gritty we want to get into the policy at the venue here, but I guess to Commissioner Peak's comment, I wouldn't mind seeing some sort of, if they're at the top of the list and being called like, hey, we have it at this location, do you have a wrecker that can be there in 20 minutes or less or whatever, as a qualifier to be able to get that, so that we don't have a car sitting on the side of the road for hours, waiting for someone that maybe is too busy to take it anyway, but wants the business.
Yeah, and I guess also just to be clear, this is not telling so we dispatch for all the police departments in Eaton County. I'm not telling them they have to use this no reference policy.
Sure.
If they ask dispatch for a no preference record, we would utilize the list. And you would have to fit these qualifications to be on the list. So just putting that out there. I don't know, I guess they could have an internal policy that if it's snowing and, we have tons of cars in the ditch, that they can just ask for, they themselves can ask for the closest record company. I don't know. Like, I'm not in charge of the law enforcement policies.
So it becomes a tool for them to use, but not necessarily.
Yes, yep.
I think as I read through it, thinking of your comments, the policy states they need a person on duty 24/7 if they want to stay on the list there, so it's not,
Most of our record companies have 24/7 coverage.
right, but that's in the
We
policy.
call them up all the time.
So it's kind of in the policy, I think you're one point there, but any other input, comments? Commissioner Arndt?
I can't remember if it was whether you or the quadrant, yeah, I really like that one with the, everyone, the list of what's the most geographically available ones. So we're not just waiting for 2 hours for, just because it sounds nice.
Yes, I will tell you that I will, so I think curbside might be a good resource because I think they have other customers that may do that and kind of figure it out that way. No promises that I can get a pricing and geographical area done in a month's time with my other work. So I'm just being transparent here.
Yeah, and hypothetically, if there was that, I guess the next question is the expectation dispatch follows up with that person after 20 minutes to see if the record's there, and then how does that play into the policy? So does that mean they get removed from, so those, I think that kind of a template has not been reviewed by legal counsel, but it would be, it would be absorbing additional duties into a staff function, where at that moment, it's like a pseudo AAA. So I guess I would just, as you're thinking through that, just evaluate what that would mean, and then we would have to amend the policy and then run it through council again if we were gonna police it that way.
Commissioner Toomey, comments?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I guess my biggest concerns with this is just keeping the administrative burden low. And then my other biggest concern would be, I think that I wouldn't want to hand somebody a list and then they get, obviously like price gouged for something that's like 10 times as much, right? So that's my biggest thing is just price to end consumer and your administrative workload. I don't want to get in the nitty gritty of having to run like and manage who's picking up where and geographically. I don't personally want to see us get involved in that, but I do really like the idea of having some consideration for price and then administrative workload. So I'll just leave it there, but I think that's the thing that people are obviously most impacted by and are going to get the most upset about if we hand them a list and then they're like, why did I get charged $3,000 to have my car towed? Not cool. So that's kind of where I'm at with everything. But thank you.
So I will do some research on the geographical areas, and then I will also reach out to our local record companies and ask for their pricing. Does that work? Okay.
Are you looking to have this moved to the full board and have that ready by the full board, or?
No, sir.
We'll come back next month? All right.
This could be easily a couple months worth, right? Like,
I mean, we'll see.
yeah.
Yeah, I have just a thought that somebody who has towing coverage on their policy would want, say, AAA, for instance.
So that doesn't take anything away from the owner. This is
Yeah,
strictly
right.
someone is out with a vehicle.
I'm just
I
saying.
get in a car accident and the police officer says, "What record would you like?" And they're like, "I don't care, just get me one." That is literally all this is. It is not taking anything away from
Correct.
local police department policies. It's not taking anything away from the citizens. So if you have a wrecker service that you prefer to use and you get in a car accident, you tell the officer that's who you want, and they come over the radio and say, the registered owner is requesting, and they tell us who, and we contact them.
That would fall to the officer on scene to make sure that they have one, what their preference would be, not,
Yeah, so dispatch, we're not out there with them and talking to them. A lot of times, if it's like a car deer and we're getting, maybe the officers are backed up or it's gonna be a little bit, we may ask them, like, do you have a preference on a wrecker? And they'll tell us on a recorded line if they do or they don't.
Right, okay.
But most of the time, it's coming from the officers.
Yep, right. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Next, we have Emergency Management Report Department.
Yep, good evening, everybody. Kind of a new template in terms of the way that we deliver you information on a monthly basis. New look, new feel, one page. Has our mission and vision right there at the top. We get into monthly activities, which we highlight. Eventually, we're going to tie this into our multi-year strategic plan milestones. That way we can show you exactly what we're completing according to our priorities. Also talks about current project management that we're doing throughout the calendar year, and then just any other miscellaneous information. So just a couple monthly activities to highlight. We did present at the Campus Connections event. So the Campus Connections event here in the state of Michigan is the one time all of the colleges and the universities get together on a designated campus to talk about, their programs, issues, problems. We try and connect with, local emergency management agencies and everything. But this year, one of the big conversations was, the way that they have to alert, their campus, residents, staff, so on and so forth, according to the Clery Act, which has very, very strict requirements. And if you don't meet those requirements, you can be fined lots and lots of money. Well, myself as, I guess, what the state says as a subject matter expert in public alert and warning, along with a couple others that have really dug into some of this research and lexicon, did a lot of work with them during the Campus Connections event to try and help them improve their processes while still meeting Clery Act requirements. So that was a really cool experience for us to take part in, and has even kind of furthered some conversation for future discussion. Other thing, we are very deep into planning as a part of the statewide exercise, which is occurring next February. The statewide Eye of the Storm exercise, again, has a public alert and warning component that many of the counties, I don't think we're quite up to all 83, but many of the counties and many of the emergency management municipal programs will be taking part and are going to have a pretty pressured 3 hours of doing a lot of crisis communications, if you will. So going to continue to work through that planning process. Again, that's early February. We'll be participating at the county level too. I'm considered an exercise trusted agent, so I can't participate. So I've turned to kind of Ella and also 911 as our other alert and warning authorities here in the county to participate. So that'll be a really cool experience. Just a couple of programmatic recognitions to highlight too. The Michigan Emergency Management Association did award the Rising Star Award to Maddie Verveke. I always get her last name mixed up. Maddie Verveke, the Emergency Preparedness Coordinator for the Barry Eaton District Health Department, with all of her work that she's done, not just on the public health side of things too, but collaborating with her emergency management partners. So that's pretty cool. And then I was awarded the Leading by Mentorship Award, which is really nice, largely for our work dedicated towards our internship program that we host throughout the summer. Again, that's a paid internship program, a really rare thing that you see across the nation. But again, that's a thank you to you guys for continuing to budget for that, so that way we can offer that program and help a student kind of build on their emergency management skills and maybe look towards the future, towards future employment. So I thank you for that as well. Just a couple things to be on the lookout for. We did a Mid-Michigan Matters segment yesterday for Winter Hazards Awareness Week, which starts this Sunday and goes through the following Saturday. We're getting our first dusting of snow this weekend as well, it looks like. So please be on the lookout for that. We like doing that segment with WILX and Taylor Gattani. She's brought us back many times in the past, and we got some other stuff planned for next year as well. And then our multi-year strategic plan. So we do these 2-year sprints, right? We're coming to a close on one, getting ready to open up another. That engagement period, according to our rules, say that we'll open it up for 45 days minimum. Usually that puts us right about November 15th. So we're going to start opening that up next week. We've got quite a bit of a public information and education campaign wrapped around that, not only with internal stakeholders, but external ones as well. And we'll certainly loop you into all that and probably highlight that a little further next month at this meeting. So again, just those two things to be on the lookout for. But that's all that I've got, unless you have questions for me.
Any questions for, no questions? Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Great. Our next department report is trial courts.
Good evening, Commissioners. Pete Klein with Eaton County Community Corrections. I have a pretty straightforward ask here. The Eaton County CCAB voted to recommend the appointment of Rebecca Condon to serve on the Eaton County CCAB, filling the position of mental health, public health, substance abuse, employment and training, or community alternatives program. This was due to the Eaton County Health Officer who held that position retiring, and Rebecca is the person who is replacing her. She's already started. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. So Commissioner Toomey, have a question?
It'll go to the full board.
Support.
Moved and supported to pass it on to the full board. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Prosecutor's Department report.
Good evening. I guess it is getting close to evening, it's starting to get dark. Chris Anderson, Chief Assistant Prosecutor. At the end of October, or for the month of October, we closed the month with 7,735 open cases. That was a decrease in 156 from the month previous, so we are starting to kind of chip away at some of that caseload. We took in 292 new cases. We authorized charges in 92 cases and declined or diverted 169 cases. We also were attended to notice 786 hearings for our 10 attorneys. We conducted 23 additional mental commitment hearings. We provided discovery 343 times across 246 cases, and that's generally done by 2 legal assistants in our office. We generated subpoenas 51 times across 41 cases, had 282 victim interactions, and generated 27 writs. So statistically, I think it was a pretty consistent month. We are pleased to see that we're starting to be able to chip down some of those numbers. October also saw the implementation of a victim engagement portal that we added on to Carpel. We paid for that with grant funding that we received, well, I guess one-time grant funding we received from the legislature as part of trying to help with our caseload. That portal, we're able to pay for 2 years of that, so we have the next 2 years covered, the cost, and we'll try to assess payment of that, whether it's gonna come out of our general fund budget or try to seek money from the state again, we'll work on that. But it allows victims to engage more freely and easily with our office. Within the portal, the victims can choose which rights they want to utilize. They can complete questionnaires on topics such as injury, restitution, safety concerns. They can provide their victim impact statement. They can communicate directly with our advocates and update their contact information. They also can see the status of cases and any upcoming hearings. The portal is optimized for mobile devices, which it was built on a mobile device platform. It's still able to be used on an internet browser like on a computer, but it's handy that it can be done with a cell phone. We can text a link to the person and they can create their account. It also has, if you've ever been on any of the domestic violence advocacy sites, they have basically the one-click get out of trouble link. It has something to that effect where if a victim is in the presence of their abuser per se, and they need to quickly get away from the portal, they can click a single button and it will take them to I believe, a recipe page, and they cannot get back to, you can't go back. It's not showing up in the history and you can't push back 100 times and get back to the portal. So it's to help with victims' safety. We just started the utilization of it a couple weeks ago. We're pretty excited. It doesn't seem like a lot, but we've had 18 victims that have started to utilize the platform. There's a certain class of victims that aren't going to use the platform, I think, that aren't necessarily technologically advanced, but we are seeing some quite a bit of use. And our goal is, frankly, to start to cut down on the amount of postage and paper we send out, because we are required statutorily to provide victims with notice of their rights and information pertaining to victim rights, and we're able to do that through the portal, and do it electronically. So hopefully we'll get there. Lastly, last month, we also, Senior Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Kelly Fletcher, who's in our Economic Crimes Unit, and one of our younger APAs, Kayla Oberleiter, tried a case and secured a conviction in a vulnerable adult embezzlement case against an individual named Heather Bodell. That case was investigated by Sheriff's Office Detective Heather Steffen, who was relentless in her investigation of it. Bodell was convicted of stealing more than $70,000 from a citizen, an elderly member of our community, who had hired Bodell to help around the house. We were assisted in the matter, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say, by an individual named, you're not going to probably know her, but her name is Michelle Gallagher, and she's from Adam Evaluation. And she's a forensic accountant, and she provided her services to us for free. And that's part of a program that the Attorney General's office had set up with accountants in the state to provide free assistance to prosecutors in prosecuting vulnerable adult embezzlement cases specifically. So we paid nothing for her. She came and testified. She prepared reports. So, and embezzlement cases are awful, time-consuming cases. This case had tens of thousands of pages of documents and bank records, and to put those things together, and frankly, Ms. Gallagher put it together for free for us. So we're grateful for her assistance in that, and I'm grateful for, we'll probably never recover any of that money, but it should go as a lesson. We're not going to tolerate vulnerable adult abuse in this county. It's sad. It's taking the last money from individuals who don't have a current income stream other than what they have. So it's an awful crime. So other than that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy. Oh, I guess also we have, I'm sure it'll come up in Ways and Means. We have an agreement in place to hire an additional attorney, one of the two that you guys had approved. She'll start on December 1st. She comes with some experience from the state of Oklahoma. We're quite excited by that, and we're still in the process of trying to address the other two openings we have in our office, but we are excited to be able to add another attorney.
Any questions, comments for? Seeing none. Good job. Okay, next, are there any miscellaneous? No miscellaneous. We have now a limited public comment portion. I see nobody. Next thing, it says adjourn. We are adjourned.